This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
All right, great. I'm calling to order the meeting of the Ad Hoc Grant Search Committee for March 2nd already at about 2:38 in the afternoon. Diana sent me a note. She's not going to be able to come. She's got a family emergency she's dealing with, so we will keep on moving. So we have myself, Kate Rooks, Ed Gibson, and our guest from the Housing Authority, Sierra Simmons today. So great. And let's see, I don't see anybody in open time for the public by the looks, as usual. Let me just do a quick minutes. Let me see, I think I got this. We have a very short set of minutes from last week. Thank you, Kate, for getting those done as usual. Hopefully they're visible here. It was really a pretty short discussion, just kind of an overview of things. And I think Diana wasn't there, right? I think that was true last time. Yeah. Last time was the time I had my crazy audio, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I was trying to decipher it. It didn't work very well.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It was just static city here. So I think I got that fixed. So hopefully today will be fine. So yeah, this was just a brief review of what we had talked about on a couple of.
They have to replace your modem?
No, actually, it turned out somehow it was defaulting to something other than a 5G. And as soon as they hit the 5G and made it go there, I was up to what I should have for speed. So it was fine. So
okay.
It was just weird. Something. Yeah, they came and checked everything. So it's good. Thankfully.
Great.
So anyway, and I guess just one thing I just reformatted, Kate, to get all this on one page. But Ed, just to double check on the additional funding, just want to be sure that we had these correct in terms of what we got here. These are both from Community Compact, and one is for the town employees classification compensation update.
Yes.
Okay, and then the ADA compliance assessment of all of our municipal buildings, basically.
Right. It's a self-assessment, which I've never found we've done, and it's actually they have grants for ADA compliance every year, but if you haven't done the self-assessment, you're not eligible. So for the last couple of years, I've been wanting to get a grant to redo that ramp between the parking lot and I'll call it the bus driveway at Nora School, because it's actually, the ramps are too steep. So this was kind of my way of saying, hey, here's a way we can get that self-study done and that first step so we can apply.
Very good. Okay. And then, so we'd have to get a committee of some sort together to self-study, or what? What do we do?
I'm actually going to reach out to PVPC and see if they have the ability to help us with it.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. Well, anyway, I think that was all we had for basic notes here. So could I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the 16th.
All right, and I'll second them, and all in favor, since you and I vote.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we will call them approved. No, that was great. So thanks. So today, really, our focus is to look at the one-stop grant, and I will just bring up one thing here. So this is, I won't go over what it is. We had tried this a couple years ago, and I think, Sierra, you were in on it at that point in time when we were looking at a couple of other things for housing, but this is a grant that's due in on the 17th, I believe. The application is due in, and this is just the expressions of interest. And we have 2 that we're allowed to put in per municipality. I guess if we had done this earlier, we might have done 3 or even up to 5 maximum ideas. But right now, with the deadline for them to give us any appreciative feedback, they've limited it to 2 ideas to come in from any given town. So this is the kind of information I was looking for anybody who was interested, and I don't know why this is not doing what I wanted to do, but anyway, hopefully nothing's in the way here. So basically, description, goals, budget estimate, what would you use it for, and sort of the timeline and whatever. So I don't know, do you have some information already written out that you want to share, Sierra, or how,
I
where
don't
are
have
we?
it written out yet. I wanted to sort of like run it past you guys and see if you have other things that you're submitting that would preclude this or like take priority over it. If we say it's a go and you send me that, I'll start by just putting a bunch of stuff in. Joyce said she could help too.
Okay.
Let's do that like this weekend.
Okay. Yeah. So what's the idea of what you all want to do? I know the earlier one you had done was more the earlier expression of interest we did 2 years ago, I think now.
Last year. Was it 2 years ago?
I think I was 21. It was 21.
Wow, time flies.
Yeah, COVID is just a time warp.
COVID time.
It is. It's a time warp. Yeah, no, it was 2 years ago because it was when the program first came out. So I think you all had suggested something about using unutilized town land.
We had a couple ideas, and it was like exploring underutilized properties and but we realized when it came time to like do the full application, we realized that our project wasn't really competitive because they really want things that are like large scale and have large impact on a lot of people. And we had very, very small properties that probably couldn't be made into more than like 1 or 2 units of affordable housing. And so it just like wasn't worth the time once I looked further into it. They have a completely different idea this time around, which is to look into, so they do in the rural communities section, they offer, what we're thinking about is like feasibility studies for zoning changes. So as you guys probably know, there's sort of this incremental zoning, editing and updating and everything that's happening. And, you know, sometimes it's based on like what funding is available. So ideally, what would happen if we got this is they give us funding and or maybe like a technical assistance person, someone to push this through to help sort of like light a fire under the like zoning change process and see like what would be the best like mechanisms for increasing affordable housing. It might be multifamily dwelling zoning. That was like a big one, but there might be other ones too that we haven't thought about and ways to change that. So we don't really know the answer. And so we're thinking like a feasibility study where they would like come to our town and be like, here's what might work for Southampton in particular. And here's how you would do that. That was sort of our idea.
Okay. And any idea of the amount you'd be asking for or anything, or nothing offhand?
It's not occurred to me. That I might need some help with. And I don't really know, like each grant program is different and has different like things. So maybe one of them might be technical assistance, one of them might be cash, it might be both. I'm not really sure. But I guess if you got money, you would be paying for a consultant to do that work for us.
Right.
I don't know.
So yeah, a couple things. So I know planning board currently has a consultant that we put some ARPA money into. I know we put in $15,000 for this consultant to continue through the year to update zoning related bylaws, right? And there should be a whole set of those that are in some stage of finalization that would come before our next town meeting, I would think, pretty soon. But you're talking about other ones that have not been written yet. Is that what you're thinking, or? Yeah,
and also the vibe I was getting from like Joy and Dan, who are, I think Joy's the liaison to the planning board and Dan LaValle is on the planning board, was that it's sort of it's been a slow process and it's sort of unclear how exactly to edit the multifamily zoning bylaw in order to be most effective in actually creating affordable housing. Because there's questions about like, I don't have a super great understanding of this, but like in terms of like size and things like that, that like if you make the law, sometimes people skirt around it and end up making just like another expensive house. And so just ways to make it more effective. So it seemed like, and maybe we should talk to the zoning board about it. I think we have, we're trying to set up a joint meeting with the planning board, not the zoning board of appeals.
Yeah, I think they met last night actually planning.
Yeah, they did.
I'm going to bring up that suggestion, but it seems like even the planning board people were there, and even though we have this consultant in place, it's sort of like inching along right now. And so we thought it might be helpful to get like another expert in here, but we're absolutely open to your wisdom on whether that's worth it.
Well, I guess I wonder too whether you don't have, well, no, you guys had somebody help with the housing production plan, right? So I guess with that, I don't admit to have read it anytime in the recent months, but was there something that came out of that that said, you absolutely need bylaw X, Y, and Z in place in order to really activate, a housing plan, I mean, to really make it operational? Was there some basic kind of zoning bylaws that needed to be in place to make that more effective? I'm just trying to link the two here somehow.
It was more like suggestions as a tactic for increasing. It said, like review zoning bylaws, including the inclusionary zoning bylaw and the multifamily dwelling zoning bylaw, and make them more effective. And actually, do we already have a multifamily zoning bylaw?
We've got an inclusionary one.
So maybe it's creating a multifamily dwelling zoning bylaw, and those come in lots of shapes and sizes. So that was sort of like recommended in our housing production plan as a tactic. It wasn't like you have to do this or you're screwed, but it was like considered sort of like low-hanging fruit, more, whereas like the housing trust is going to take a while to like, get going. The attorney general still hasn't like approved it yet. So
right. Yeah, we should be hearing back. We should be hearing back soon, within the next couple of weeks, from the attorney general's office about anything that went before the last special town meeting in December. So that bylaw hopefully will be okayed at that point in time. I guess I'm wondering too about, through PVPC with, they had those the DLTA grants that we had gotten, a consultant to help us at one point to revise, update the master plan. What else was Historical Commission has used them, right, Ed, for exploring the historic nature of the canal and doing something with other towns. I'm thinking there was one more somewhere, but I can't remember what it was. But I'm just wondering if through PVPC, they might not be a quicker process. Because what worries me about this a little bit, I don't want to nix it, but I mean, the expression of interest is one thing. And if they say, okay, yeah, this sounds like a good idea, then I think the applications are due in I want to say the month of May, or by early May, sometime in there. And when you look at that application, it's a heavy duty application. So I'm not sure that the topic matches the grant effort, I guess is what I think I'm saying here.
Mm-hmm. We use this expression in my office, which is the juice worth the squeeze?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm talking to another grant person. I shouldn't have to couch this in other terms here. It's like, how much effort do you want to really put into this? Yeah, good point. I guess I would want to know. Yeah, I guess I do have a copy. I don't have it handy, but I was given a copy of the most recent draft of the zoning bylaws because I'm also on the bylaw advisory committee. And the zoning bylaws are being managed through the planning board. And they've been doing a lot of update over time, I know. And I'd have to look. I know there's an inclusionary one in there. I can't recall if there's a multifamily or whatever. I don't know if that's the same thing as the accessory dwelling, like converting your house into an apartment of something for.
I think that's two different.
Two separate things. Okay, I'm not sure. But anyway, so just to say that they're doing that. So it seems like there would need to be, some meeting between housing and planning to see, okay, we're unable to cover this somehow, in spite of all the work that they're trying to do with their consultant currently, that there's still a huge gap here that we can't manage. That would make it a little bit more of a solid proposal. But I don't know, Ed, any thoughts, the run around more with PVPC and what planning's trying to do? And I don't know.
I was actually, while we're talking on PVPC's website, I was looking to see if they had a breakdown of categories for DLTAs to send out. But I think yes. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking PVPC may be a better avenue to utilize and for this. So let's just say.
So I see the DLTA grant. So you couldn't use something like this to fund PVPC coming in and doing this type of planning work?
No, they would. I mean, that would be it. I mean, DLTA is PVPC would send in their own consultant. So we don't actually get any money usually on the DLTA. It's like you're going to get a body to come in and help you.
Is it like ongoing rolling deadline, or does it like only open once a year or something like that? Do you happen to know?
There's an essential open period for applying, which I believe is still going on right now. But then even if they still have funds, if you apply for something and they have the capability and they still have funds, they will actually take it on even after that.
Right. And where do they get their funds, Ed? Are they state funds?
Yeah.
They're state funds, right. Okay.
Yeah, this is one of the things that they're usually fighting for in the budget process.
Right. Okay. Because I know when we had Ken Kumia come in, and I think we had him for a year, and we met quite frequently when we were doing the update of the master plan and that community survey we did and all that. I mean, it was quite a process, but that was very useful. Again, your point to have somebody drive it is really, what is helpful. And sometimes it's that outside person that can make it happen. But I think my gut tells me that would be a place to check. And I can shoot off a note to Eric Weiss, because I had talked to him, probably in January, saying, when is DLTA opening up? And he said, or I asked him if they were still doing them. He said, oh, yeah, but I haven't seen much about it, to tell you the truth. So I can check in with him. I need to touch base with him anyway. But
yeah, it's actually Catherine Rattay that does what I think would be
on the housing.
It's land use and sustainable development, and planning ahead for housing.
Okay, all right, good. Yeah, I'll shoot a note.
It's really important and would be, worth looking into. I just feel like we're moving the needle so slowly in terms of, being able to create properties for affordable housing.
Yeah, no, I think there's, some opportunities there, but I think I'm just concerned that this might not be the right match for this, what you would like to do.
All right. So if I was going to think about next steps for myself here, should we first talk to the planning board? Should I try to talk to the planning board before March 17th in case they're like, yes, we need like hundreds of thousands of dollars for this, like, please apply to the one stop? Or should I just assume that's probably not the case and not worry about that deadline and talk to the planning board when we have a joint meeting, which will probably be after the 17th? We could look into the DLTA, which if there's a sooner deadline for that, you could let me know and I could scramble and make things happen.
I don't see a deadline. I've been looking on the website and I can't see a deadline that's listed.
Yeah,
for which?
For DLTA.
No, I think it is a bit of a rolling one. So let me reach out to DLTA and we'll have an answer within, before Friday, I would think, on that. Just to know.
Reaching out right now.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. And just to see if they have any, it's also timing in terms of, when do they have a person available to help us out. But the application itself is quite short. It's really easier than really not tough at all. I mean, it's probably comparable to the CPC application. I mean, it's pretty limited. Yeah. So that would be an easy one to apply for, should they still be doing it. I mean, I kind of think they are. Planning board was copied on the email about One Stop, just like, several other groups were. And I heard nothing. They did meet last night, and I surely have heard nothing since that meeting. So I'd sent a couple reminders and I just assumed that they were not interested or had nothing to offer in terms of what they wanted to see get done. So there is no requirement to do an expression of interest before doing a full application for a One Stop.
That's right.
So that's not a limiting factor. It's just helpful because it, would get you some feedback and whether it's worth your time to go through that full painful process of the application, which after, if you recall, we got some feedback after the last one, where, we'd put in like 3 requests, I believe. And they were positive, but there was nothing that said, yeah, go ahead, this is a great idea. They were a little bit, they were congratulating us on our effort, but that was kind of it. So we didn't decide to pursue anything. And so there's a benefit to getting some feedback ahead of time if you could. So I would say, maybe once we find out from DLTA PVPC, reach out next week, via email, to the planning board, email and just say, hey, look, did you guys think about anything for One Stop? We on the housing committee, housing commission, we're thinking about X, Y, and Z. And I just don't want to overlap with what they're doing because I know I know they've got this consultant still on board, so I don't know whether it's a matter of his availability being limited or what their stoppage is, but I think I would go that route first. And like I say, 17th is the deadline on these grants, on the expression of interest rather. So if we didn't do it, then it would still be a matter of, well, how great is the idea, and is it going to be worth doing the full application, I guess. So the underutilized properties, any of that stuff is not something that you thought was going to come back around. Okay.
I don't think so. The only properties we have that are like worthy are just so small. And they also required like a level of like advancedness in the process that we were not at, which is like knowing the addresses of all the properties we want to check out. And we were like, well, maybe, I don't know if we want to do this one. So yeah, I just don't think it's reasonable for us right now.
Okay.
But I'll check in with Joy and Dan now, since they're my housing crossover people.
Yeah, there you go.
And see if they brought it up at that meeting last night, and
Sure.
if what the response is.
Right. Because like I say, I know we've put forth, $15,000 for their consultant to keep on working with them. So I don't know what new ones they're going to be working on, but there has been a solid draft that's been given to this E360, this E-code 360 that's going to be, codifying them all. So there's a whole bunch that have gone to them, and they're all codified and ready to be, verified by the committee, I guess. So, yeah, definitely don't want to duplicate efforts here, but
yeah.
So I think let's wait on that and then let us know. I'm really thinking PVPC is going to be a better option unless we hear something else.
Sounds good to me. Well, I would take my leave now unless you guys have any other questions.
Yeah, no, that's fine, Sarah. Thanks, Sarah, for coming in. And like I said, the only other thing I could think of is if there's something, through that housing production plan that looked like it was a major action item that isn't covered somehow else. I mean, that would be the only thing I would think of in my head from what you've said here. But
yeah. So. Sorry, we don't have a lot of like good properties to build on that are like open and free and available, and we have the property we just bought, but it's only a couple of units, and they really don't want to fund this only a couple of units type thing.
Yeah. Okay.
That, and the whole septic issue is just
right. Yeah, no, we've got a couple of other
problem. That's a limiting factor that's just going to take a lot longer to figure out.
Right. Totally. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks, Sierra. We'll let you escape.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your thoughtful input on this.
Nice to see you. Bye.
Thanks for coming in. All right. Thanks. So, question. So, thought I had. I don't know. I didn't mean to monopolize the conversation there. Do you guys kind of agree with me there that this is maybe not a great match, or?
Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it just feels like the DLTA is a better fit if they've got any possibility to fit us in. So,
I think I can understand the whole moving really slowly, feeling kind of stuck feeling, because we've been like that for lots of things.
I know they have been too. So one thing I think I would still like us to try and do something. So I'm pulling up here. This is what we had put in 2 years ago on the public safety site feasibility, and I'd have to change some of it, but we have some language here.
That was my thought about the public safety complex. I felt
right.
Like it would be, if our town needs anything, it would be a public safety complex.
So this is one where we've got a fair amount of stuff written. This was one of 3 projects. We'd done this one, the one that housing had put in on underutilized properties, and then a third one about looking at the Red Rock Plaza area as a combination, commercial and residential development idea. Mixed use
Mm-hmm.
district or whatever it was. And so nothing ever went anywhere. At the time that we applied, I believe we heard back that the public safety complex type things were not in their bailiwick, that they weren't interested in them, or it wasn't one of the things that they were wanting to fund. However, since then, and I think because of the state auditor's report that came out last year that did a whole lot of looking at infrastructure issues around the state, and especially in Western Mass, some of that needed municipal infrastructure all of a sudden kind of rose to the headlines again. So from everything I've read, it does look like they are entertaining the notion of public safety complexes. So my thought would be to try and manipulate some of this language. I'd have to see how much of this fits into the application form, because nine times out of 10, they changed the application form from what we applied here. But at least a lot of this was already down to the 1,000 characters, which is what we needed. So I think I might just try to plug this in and just see what it's looking like. It's just that page and a half at the most, 4 or 5, excuse me, 4 or 5 questions, and see how that fits in there. And I'd probably come back. Ed, I know you guys are still working on the RFQ or RFP, whatever you put out there. Which was it, the RFP or Q? I forget. For the public safety complex. The Q. Sorry.
I got on mute. Q.
Yeah. Q. Okay. So the RFQ. So, but in terms of, we might be able to, show that as, a supporting document or something, as, here's, we've made advancements in our process and where this fits in their compendium of development, I guess, their scale that they have. I don't know the second one. Ed, you'd mentioned the Hamden Pond sewer one. That again, Ty and Bond had done, looking at, and Kate, you're familiar with this one, right? Through the Board of Health with the sewer issues over at Hamden Ponds, and maybe trying to tie into Westfield or whatever. I guess we'd have enough information out of the Ty and Bond study, right, Ed, that I could pull, copy and paste out of there somewhere?
I would think so.
Yeah.
I feel like they had a ton of information already put together. I feel like funding for that project. So what would the ask be if we were going to submit that as an expression of interest? Would the ask be for funding to complete? So I'm not sure where we are in the engineering or like the design phase of that, but it sounds like we would still need more money for that.
Well, we would need, shall we say, we would need complete plans to be able to go out to bid. Basically, we have, schematic, non-specified plans at this point in time.
So would the ask for this particular grant be to advance the design to the point where it would be more actionable?
I mean, I think what Ty and Bond has done is give us a design, right? I don't think anything even changed in what they updated it, right? From the earlier design that they had envisioned years ago, right?
Well, they updated the cost, and they kind of looked at what the original design was and said, would it still work? Yeah.
And most of that was pretty similar to what they had done. So I don't see them needing to go back and do more design work. It's more that, actual real planning kind of process, like Ed, you said, that could be available to go out for.
Well, no,
kind of bids.
You need actual designs, much like we're doing for East Street or for the Greenway.
Right.
And if you take that out and say, and I forget what they said today's cost on that septic system was, if it was like $8 million, you're basically looking at probably around $800,000 for the actual design to go out to bid before you get into the millions of dollars for actual construction. Right.
So in the design, we're in layman's term, would you call that equivalent to like blueprints or something?
I would call it schematic design rather than construction design.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So that would be what would be necessary. And then obviously there still has to be connections and communication with Westfield to see if we could even link in, right? So it's still kind of an unknown there. But so that might be possible, but just to say that we've at least got some, and again, we don't have to go forward with it, but if we threw in the expression of interest and got some reaction, then that would, give us a clue about, maybe not this year, but maybe next year kind of thing. It would give us some feedback that would help us maybe get to a point where we're more ready to be able to act on something. And then Ed,
help with grants. I'm reading my notes because I went to the meeting where they came to present to select board, and it looks like they would be able to maybe help us with this one-stop application.
Oh, Ty and Bond, I wouldn't be surprised for a fee. I'm sure they would. Yes. The other one, Ed, you talked about was the water main up Route 10, but isn't Water Commission already, don't they already have some money toward that? I mean, I know we put in ARPA money, but I thought they already had some grant money.
They've got some. They don't have all to do the entire length.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was one of those projects that I know there's actual design funds for that.
Yeah.
Is basically, shall we say, ready to go, except for the fact that, okay, it might be done in 2 or 3 phases, developed, due to funding constraints.
Yeah. So we have 3 possible choices, I think, here, honestly. And we can only pick 2. So it's a challenge because I know we've got written information on the sewer one that would be easy to probably pull from, whereas I have nothing about the water main. But I'm sure it exists through their other consultant studies.
I think that if I was to throw it would be an easier project to really get an expression of interest out. It would be the septic project. Because we have so much information and it does pose an environmental concern, and it also limits development. Like, it's actually holding back our ability to move forward with housing and other projects around Hampden Ponds too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The only thing I don't disagree. I think the only thing that crosses my mind is, I know it came up at select board that this affects a portion of the town rather than benefiting all the town.
The whole town, yep. Understandable.
So there's that notion, but I agree that between what we had already written for the, public safety complex and Hampden Ponds, we probably have the most handy information. And then, so to tie on that, I sent it to Kate, you and Diana, just for information. We had gotten a letter yesterday from Senator Warren's office. This is what I was trying to talk about last night that I didn't call it correctly, I think, but congressionally directed spending requests. And so they were looking for some ideas from us on that. And that too is not just a simple paragraph, it's an application. And unfortunately, they're due about the same day or a day or two ahead of the one-stop expression. So they're all due the 15th, 16th, somewhere there.
Yeah, it's the 15th. I'm just looking at your email now.
Yeah. So we could, and I'd have to go back and double check how many she said we could submit there, but I think we probably would have to prioritize anyway, to send something to Senator Warren and Senator Markey's office. But it would be probably at least 2 of these, if not all 3. I don't know. If we had the information, and I'm sure, Ed, we must have information about the whole water thing from their CEI consultant, right, somewhere.
Right.
So that would be another option if we did the public safety and sewer with the one-stop, just to try it out and see what kind of feedback we get, and then read a little bit more carefully on the Warren letter as to how many we could submit. That's one where they had gotten some money for the senior center last year too, etc. So. And it wasn't clear to me as I read it how much is really allocated to construction, brick and mortar stuff. I'm not sure if those are the kinds of projects she's looking at, or more, the softer stuff that goes along with programs.
It looks like a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it can. You gotta put it in with the right subcommittee. It's a little bit complex, but anyway, it's going to require some attention. But without belaboring it, if we think we should try one stop, then are we agreed that we should try probably public safety and Hampden Ponds and see what we get some feedback on that at least, and then I think we'll bring up this other one, the congressional one, at select board probably on Tuesday anyway, and just see what people's thoughts might be for projects to try and put forward there, and then we can make that decision too. But does that sound okay? Yeah,
I think that sounds reasonable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me try, and I can pull some stuff I know right into the 1,000-word, 1,000-character form here. It's all going to be done online, but I can use this template, I think, offline to fill in most of the innards that would describe the project and timeline and cost. So let me work on that a bit this weekend and see how far I get, and try to shovel something back around here.
Do you think Ty and Bond could give you anything? Did we already do this? I'm sorry, did we say we already did this for the one stop last time or no?
No,
No.
we did it ourselves. Yeah. For the expression of interest, we did it ourselves. That was not that big a deal. It's the application that would be a bear.
Do you think they could send us some, or Ed, maybe you have this, but some more recent information? I mean, I have my chicken scratch notes from that meeting, but seems like they've done quite a bit of work recently.
I've got the report, so
Yeah.
So maybe that would help us. I mean, I think that would be really helpful.
Yeah, they put out a
You wanted me to
report.
try to take a stab at that first while
Mhm.
you work on the. I feel
Mhm.
bad. You always kind of get all the projects thrown at you.
Yeah,
but
no.
and if
No, I
you
was
send
gonna
me
say
that report, I could try to
Yep.
try to
I was gonna
work
say-
on it a little bit.
that would be good. I think if we could kind of divvy and conquer, because there's going to be a couple
Yeah.
things, due at the same time here.
And then there's that other application from Elizabeth Warren. I mean, that's just a lot of
Right.
work to try to accomplish in 2 weeks. So I'm
Right,
thinking if
exactly.
you want me to try to take a stab at the Hamden Pond Sewer Project, 1,000 character
That would be great.
document, I can do that.
Okay.
And then
So that-
for the Elizabeth Warren document, what kind of feel like I need to look at it?
I've got to read through that more and present it anyway to select board on Tuesday. So we'll have more discussion after people. I sent it to select board members so they could take a look at it.
So do you want to reconnect after Tuesday and then we can kind of just regroup and see what we're able to pull together with I guess all of this stuff.
I know, like, well, yeah. I mean, we could try to have a meeting on the 8th just to sort of see, are we going to do anything or aren't we? It's a
I
week
think
from
so.
today.
I mean, it sounds like we have pretty solid next steps
8th or
and
9th.
can work on. I feel like we can work on this outside of the meeting.
Actually, a week from. Sorry, I'm in the wrong. What day is it? Today's the 2nd, right?
Today's the 2nd.
Okay, so the 9th would be next Thursday. I've got that pretty open. I don't know about you guys. Right
I
now.
could do 2:30.
Yeah. How's that look for you, Ed?
I don't think you have that completely open. I think that's the date where,
Oh, we've got select board that night.
well, we got select board that night, and I'm trying to remember if Novus, I think it's the Thursday that's at noon is the Novus thing that worked out.
Good point. How about Wednesday, the 8th?
Let's do Wednesday, March 8th. I can do afternoon.
Yeah. I've got morning booked, but the afternoon I could do something here.
2:30,
just
3 o'clock.
Want to try 3 o'clock and see?
Sure.
Let's see how that goes for a change, and I'll let Diana know. I'm sure she'd be glad to take a portion of this too. So we'll see where we are. But yeah, let me
Send those reports over. So just because I don't have any recent information other than my notes from the select board presentation.
Yeah, maybe just send that report from Ty and Bond around to all of us again, Ed.
I think we still have to clarify what exactly.
You should have it, Chris.
I would have had it from select board, right?
No, you and Kate should have it. I just sent it out.
Oh,
good.
perfect.
Okay. All right. We'll throw it to
All right, I'll
Diana.
take a look and
too.
see. I mean, it's just an expression of interest. I feel like we can
Okay.
get
And then
something submitted.
I'll basically take a look at what we put in on the public safety and then, modify that a little bit. And then if there's anything out of the current RFQ that's out there, that might be relevant to add in, I can do that too.
Have they been having meetings? I know Charlie had kind of
Public safety?
So maybe
As far
they
as I
can
know.
help out.
As far as I know, they've had meetings. Yeah.
But maybe I don't know, maybe they could send you some minutes or give you some helpful information.
I sent it to them, guys. I'm telling you, I've sent this one stop twice around to all these people that I thought should have an idea. Nobody got back to me except Sierra. So at this point in time, I think we just take it forward and do it. And if we get some good feedback, then they're going to have to get involved if we have to do a real application.
Yeah, I understand that. And sometimes it's easier just
But
to
at this
do things
point in time,
yourself.
it's kind of like herding cats. So people were given notice and given a chance. And if they didn't, feel like they had an idea right then and there, then unfortunately we do have deadlines that kind of keep us tied down with these things. But I think we can do the expression of interest. We did them ourselves last time, and I think we had
Did you
Ian
forward
and-
the form for the expression of interest? The
I
blank?
will. Yeah. No, I
Okay,
will.
that would be great.
Yeah, I'll give you more of the template because I just copied out a few of the questions in the body of that email for Sierra, but I'll send you the actual template itself.
Okay, that's great.
And nobody got back to you besides Sierra?
No.
So I'm a nobody.
Well, in terms, no, that was not okay. Other
You stepped into it, Chris. You set me up.
Yeah. Well, it was more, but you were talking about the Elizabeth Warren one, weren't you? The CD, the
Was it?
congressionally, yeah, that was yesterday.
Okay.
Congressionally directed spending, but yeah,
Stand corrected.
I had sent it around to others just to see if there was something that was on their minds, and so yeah, that's fine. Okay, so I think with that, why don't we just like I say, we'll aim for next Wednesday then, and I'll set up a meeting and I'll get the stuff sent around to Kate and Diana, and in fact, I may pawn off some, depending on what's happening with Diana and her situation. I may just give her that old public safety one to cut and paste and put it in the new application and see what that looks like, and then if I have to focus on the congressionally spending one, I can have more attention on that one. Anyway, we'll divide and conquer. I'm fine to delegate.
Yes, I definitely am happy to help because you definitely are doing a lot. Okay.
Well, you've been out straight with work too, so I know everybody that has to work for a living. I'm trying to be respectful of their free time and limited that it is. So
yeah, but
good.
You can't. We're a team. Yes, I will do what I can. Okay. So,
Perfect.
So you loop in Diana about the public safety complex. Thank you for forwarding that stuff, Ed.
You're welcome.
On the 8th. Is there anything else?
No, that's it. So we will catch up again on the 8th. I'll set up a meeting and send the note around. Okay.
Okay. I'll make
Very
a motion to adjourn at 3:20.
All right. I second that, and I vote adjourn.
Thank you so
All
much.
right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Good.
Bye.
Ed, I'll see you in a few minutes.
Well, meetings are us.
I guess.
Bye-bye.
Meetings are us. Yes. See you later. Bye.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.